Hola amigos, this is Level 12 and today we are going to be talking about how the Promised Neverland manga was disappointing. I would like to preface this video with saying that there will be spoilers for the entire manga. So if you haven't finished it, this is your warning. I would also like to say that overall I did enjoy the manga and thought it was leagues better than the anime. The second season of the anime doesn't exist, especially concerning how horrible it went. However, nothing is perfect, and I think it's good that you're able to criticize media that you like because it shows you're not a blind follower of it. So the first surprising thing I want to talk about is the low amount of death. With the manga beginning with the death of an innocent character, Connie, one can assume a dangerous precedent would be set for the following 180-something chapters. This further is cemented by the believed death of Norman and the death of Sister Crona. These characters are not safe and can be terminated with the drop of a hat if the crew wasn't careful. These two deaths were one death, one presumed death, were based off careless mistakes the crew had made. That, in my opinion, is what built the suspense when the kids finally escaped Gracefield and entered demon territory. This is further tightened by the kids falling in the vampire tree's cave system and then being hunted down by both wild demons and the rattery demon soldiers. This made the manga engaging and made people hooked chapter per chapter because when you think your favorite characters are going to die, you want to watch it or read it and make sure they don't die. Goldie Pond, however, the veil of danger is slightly lifted. While we know Yugo has experienced mountains of death at Goldie Pond, Emma and the Goldie Pond kids get off pretty scot-free, all things considered. Yes, we lose two unimportant kids at the start of the arc, but that simply serves to fuel Emma's rage and plan for killing the demons of Goldie Pond. It does nothing to affect the audience on a massive scale, which is how death is usually used in things like this. It's supposed to draw an emotion from the audience, which can be rewarding for some. Once the Goldie Pond arc enters its battle stage, there is an understanding that any of these characters can die, considering these are powerful demons. This is evidenced by the prior 3 on-screen deaths and Yugo's memories. However, no human death occurs over this arc, which is super unrealistic. For the trio fighting Noose and Noma, all 3 of them appear to receive life-threatening wounds. Like wounds you don't come back from even with immediate medical care, and they didn't even have that. After an indeterminate amount of time, they were carried back to the hideout and treated with what little medical supplies they have. I'm about 90% sure one of those girls got stabbed in the chest with a pike. Like, what magic and tomfoolery is this? It made it so frustrating to read. Same can be said for Jillian's injury from Lord Bayan. However, all survived and everyone at Goldie Pond made it back to the bunker. And this lifted the death veil because now these characters have some kind of protection shield that we know that they cannot die, and it's a little bit annoying. The next mini arc is when Andrew invades the bunker, and in the entire fiasco, they lose 2 unnamed kids in the bunker. And I say they were given names when they died, but the general consensus is they were not that important. Lucas and Yugo, they died. Those deaths kind of hurt, not gonna lie. And then 2 to 4 other unnamed kids. A few kids from Gracefield sustain a couple of injuries. After this, no one else dies. Like, literally no one at all, other than the demon royalty from this point on, die. And it's frustrating because there were multiple times where they probably should have. This to me just felt extremely unrealistic compared to the precedent that was set up during the Gracefield arc, where death could occur on Mom's count. I think the plot held too tightly to Emma's goal that no one else would die. Like, Emma's main goal was, we are all going to live, and go to the human world. Now, there is some exception for, like, the farms that were still in operation the 2 years Emma and the other escapees were trying to, like, break the promise and whatever. But we don't see those deaths, and we're not attached to those children, so it doesn't matter. Death is a realistic event, especially in a story like this. I'm not saying that the kids from Grace Field should have died, because I feel like that would have been too much of an emotional toll. However, perhaps some of the kids should have died at Goldie Pond or more during the bunker break-in. Not only would this make it seem like death is an ever-looming threat, but it would also clear up panel space and give breathing room to characters people have more of a connection to. Because let me tell you, I know the name of a handful of the kids from Goldie Pond arc, and those kids are Jillian, Nigel, Oliver, and Zach. I know there is a Sandy, a Sonia, and a Pepe, but I would not be able to pick those kids out of a lineup. The cast just got too cluttered to sustain itself, and it felt very weird. Like, there were characters appearing on screen who I had a vague recognition of who they were, and they felt super important to the plot, but I had no connection to them, and death clears that up very easily. My next issue is with Emma's memory. I thought the promise she made with the head demon, who we'll call the One, because his name is never actually given, was fitting based off what we knew of him. The deal he made with Julius Rattery both satisfied the humans' desire to have their own separate world, while also being, also having that ironic twist. Julius and his clan would have to stay behind and be the gatekeeper of the two worlds. So he never got to experience the glorious human world. That's where the ironic twist comes in. Emma's deal satisfied her want for her family and other farm children to be free in the human world and was ironic. The One got her family without eating them and instead took her memory, meaning Emma could have never revel in the good life with her comrades, which may not have been her main goal, but I would argue is definitely a secondary goal. This felt fitting because, other than the demon, royalty, and Peter Rattery dying, things had pretty much gone Emma's way the entire manga. No kid from Grace Field died, she killed as few demons as possible, and the human world accepted them. This was Emma's retribution for being pretty much a godlike character throughout the series. You know what I'm saying? This got thrown out the window in chapter 181 when the kids finally managed to find her. Seeing them did not jog her memory, but she still just kind of accepted them. That is incredibly frustrating because it means in the grand scheme of things, Emma got pretty much everything she wanted. Sure, a few people died, but she probably can't even remember them. And I'm talking like Lucas and Yugo. Like, I highly doubt, and Mama, I highly doubt that, like, Ray and Norman and the other kids would tell Emma, oh yeah, these people that you cared about and cared about you, yeah, they died in these tragic events. I'm about 90% sure they would not tell her that. I think if they told her they died at all, that they had, like, died of natural causes or disease or something, but not, like, Mom got, like, stabbed by a demon and, like, Lucas and Yugo blew themselves up. Like, they're not telling her that. So she got all of the rewards with none of the horror. I think we need to normalize endings with less happy endings and settle for endings that may not be super resolute. I think a better ending would have been just the panel where you can see Emma at the top of, like, the building, the scaffolding, and then at the bottom you see Ray and Norman below, and then leave that up to reader interpretation, because that way you uphold the promise Emma and the One made, but you also give hope to the reader that maybe, just maybe, they'll meet again one day without just straight up making the promise meaningless. Because what, in my opinion, my brain did when they were together, my brain went, oh, so the promise meant nothing. And granted, Emma lived like 2 years, I think it was, without remembering her family, and that's sad, but it's still, like, could have been better. So that's all I have for today. These were the two biggest issues I had with the Promised Neverland manga. Obviously, as you can see, they're not super major. It's not numerous amounts of problems, it's just some that I'm like, hey, maybe you could have done this a little bit better and it might have turned out just a smidge bit more interesting for the audience, because the ending's kind of, it's not cliche, but it's kind of too perfect for the manga's entire, like, premise, or at least the air it gives. Tell me what you think below. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more random fandom things. Ciao, chicos.